Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. As usual, I remain Nicole Taru, and yeah, it's been quite some time now since I uploaded another video on YouTube simply because I've been so busy. I've been up and down and with lots of work. Yes, but today I just wanted to come, sit down, and talk to you guys about how my experience, especially working here in Russia as a teacher, has been so far. So, from my analysis, okay, I haven't lived here for long. I've just been here like for 2 months and a half to be precise. But from my experience and some of the observations that I've realized is most foreigners here, especially like the black foreigners that I've met, if they are not students, then they are teachers. So, like, you find that teaching is like one of the most commonest and easiest jobs to find for a foreigner here in Russia. It's very rare to find a foreigner teaching in another different field or sector of Russia. Maybe in Moscow they may be there, but since I don't live in Moscow, I'll not really generalize it about Moscow. But here in Yemelyanova, yes, I live in a small kind of countryside place. It's more like a village, but I wouldn't really call it like a village. It's more of the countryside, yes, called Yemelyanova, and it's near another bigger city called Krasnoyarsk. So, like some of the foreigners that I've met here who are not studying are like teachers. Yes, because I was told by one of them that it's quite hard for you to get into another sector, another work sector here as a foreigner because you'll need so many documents to support you with your work visa and that kind of thing. And the whole process is just so long, it's complicated, and it's so expensive. So, like, the only easiest way for you to be able to work here is mainly through teaching for a foreigner. So yeah, I'm going to point out a few notes about my experience here. So before me coming here, I was quite scared and I really didn't know what to expect, especially when it came to teaching, because I was like, okay, will these kids like really listen to me? Will they want to learn something from me? Will they want to pay attention to what I'm saying? But it's different. Like, I can say the love and the reaction that I've experienced from the children here has been like so different from what I expected. It has been more of positive than negative. The children are quite friendly. They try their level best to associate and try to speak to me despite the language barrier problem, because it's a really, really big issue here because most people cannot speak English, but they try to communicate even with the little that they can. They try to speak some few English words, and where I can, I try to help them as well with pronunciations and reading and this kind of stuff. But sometimes some children cannot really, like, their English level is so low, and you'll just find them most of the time speaking to you in Russian. So, like, you find yourself in this situation, you're trying to communicate in this language and they're responding to you in this language. So, like, there is a lot of no understanding each other. But then in most cases, when I find myself in this kind of situation, I always refer to the translator, and we end up actually working so well together. So, yeah, I haven't really found it like much of a challenge. And even I just found it like so shocking and so nice because the children here like love sharing. Yes, they like to share. Like maybe sometimes when it's break time, we have a break and they're going to have a snack. You can just find a child maybe bringing for you a snack, you know, that he or she brought from home, and you're like, wow, okay, I didn't expect this, you know, which is nice, you know, like it really feels so good. And oftentimes I've also been given presents as well by a few children, and then some of course ask me for selfies after the lesson, or their parents sometimes come and then they request me for some photos with them. So like, yeah, it has not really been a bad experience, I must say. And another thing I would talk about is the salary bit. So here in Yemelyanova, okay, I cannot say the salary is low. In my opinion, I think I would say it's average, you know, not much and not like really, really so low. Yeah, it's in the middle, but which is not bad because it's enough, especially for the living standards here. Same to Krasnoyarsk, because the cost of living here is not really so expensive. For example, when it comes to food, food is very cheap here. Transportation, especially if you're using bus is so cheap. But of course, if you use other means like a taxi, then yes, it's going to be quite expensive, you know. Yeah, but bus is so cheap. It's like 22 rubles, and that's the same standard price that you'll pay to whichever place you're traveling to around Krasnoyarsk. And then from bus, yeah, and if you're traveling from Yemelyanova, this countryside that I live in, to Krasnoyarsk by bus, that costs like 59 rubles. So yeah, it's not really so expensive, but if you're to use taxi, then it would cost you between 400 to 500 rubles. So like you get the difference. Here in this side of Russia, that is more costly than when it comes to food or transportation and this kind of things. Yes. And what else? So when I and then the next thing that I'll talk about is basically about the whole salary packaging. So as a teacher here, the salary is, I can say, average. Yes, it's average. It's not that a lot, and it's not so little as well. It's just average in the middle. But when you have connections, because now like some people are able to teach in more than one school, sometimes they part-time in other schools as well, maybe two or three. So if you get a chance to part-time in other schools as well, then there of course you get a fairly higher salary at the end of the month. For example, you can find yourself maybe even earning almost close to between 30 to 40 rubles per month, which is not bad, because now like in my second school, I earn between, I earn 500 rubles per lesson. So if I have maybe like, for example, two or three lessons or four lessons in a day in that side of the school that I teach in the second school, then that is already like 2000 rubles that I'm making already in a day. So yeah, it becomes much easier, and you earn more when you also have other schools that you part-time in than only just teaching in one school. Yeah, teaching in one school also is not bad, but if you want to earn more, then it's much better if you part-time in other schools. However, the cost of living, the salary paid to teachers in Moscow is, I can say, almost triple the price. For example, here maybe an average person can get a salary of 30,000 rubles per month, but you'll find a teacher in Moscow is getting over like 90,000 or even 100,000 rubles. So yeah, like I was saying, you find that um, teachers in Moscow earn triple the amount of salary that teachers here earn, simply because of course the cost of living in Moscow is more expensive than here. So that's the reason why. And also it's quite hard also to find, like, to be able to work as a teacher in Moscow, especially when you're black. Okay, maybe there may be some people, some black people who are working in. Of course, there are black people as well who are working in Moscow as teachers. But when I tried to apply for some schools in Moscow, I just found it so weird that uh, during the whole application thing, like the school would tell me, no, we need English native speakers, and I'm like, duh. I mean, I also come from a native speaking country, you know, an English native speaking country. The fact that my country was colonized by Britain, that means that I also speak English. But that is just to mean that they actually need people from UK, America, Canada, you know, like more white people. So I didn't really want to conclude it as being racist, but who knows? Because when I tried applying, I got more rejects in Moscow than I did here, and that's how I actually ended up here. Yes, but I don't really like regret or feel bad about my being here, because who knows, maybe if I was the other side, it would have been a different story, you know. So I think everything always happens for a reason, you know, and sometimes you have to embrace what you're going through. So like my living here has just been more of positive than negative. People have been so welcoming, so hospitable, even though they cannot speak English, but at least they have tried to show me that I can as well feel like home here away from home, which is really nice. And of course, I also get lots of invitations, like people inviting me to their homes, wanting to spend a day with me, and this kind of things. And like, it's just so cool. So yeah, I think I don't really regret my coming here and my staying here, because it has been more of a positive experience for me than a negative one. Yes, although of course the only challenge that I will just put across majorly is just the language issue. Yes, not knowing Russian is quite hard for a foreigner to survive here, because almost 90% of the people cannot speak English. So you find that the people who can speak English are very few, and it's rare for you to get them. You can only be able to manage to meet people who can speak a bit of English, maybe in the English language schools that yeah that you can be teaching in, and in other English language schools. That is where you can find at least people speaking a little bit of English. But just randomly on the way, on the streets, in the grocery shops, in the supermarket, restaurants, it's very rare to find someone speaking in English. But yeah, that shouldn't really be a barrier. That shouldn't limit you in any way. At least I've I'm trying to learn a few basic words, because I'm interested in learning the language. So at least I try to learn just a few words like kaktila, harasho, bashoye spasiba, kleb, that's bread. Yes. What else? Меня зовут Nicole. Здравствуйте, привет, you know. So like I've started learning some Russian, a little bit of Russian. So yeah, it's not a language that of course you'd expect to just know in day one, no, but it takes time. But yeah, if you have interest in learning it, I think it's really good, because it helps you to be able to fit even much more perfectly in the society when you can be able to communicate more with the locals in a language that they better understand and that they are more familiar with. So yeah, that's all anyway that I wanted to share with you about my experiences. As usual, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any experiences as well, always feel free to comment them down below. So yeah, that was all I had, and I'm out. Have a good day.